Hi, I'm Brenda with the YMCA of the Fox Cities. This is my daughter Lauren, and behind the camera today is our son Luke. And we are going to make some easy homemade soft pretzels. So what you're going to need is warm water, yeast, salt, brown sugar, unsalted butter, flour, and a little bit of kosher salt and some baking soda. So we're going to get started and make these with you today. So thanks for joining us, and thank you for coming into our kitchen as we all stay home and stay safe these days. So you're going to start out with 1.5 cups of water. What you want is a temperature of about 100 degrees, and you can use a simple candy thermometer to check that. And I just put some cool water in a measuring cup, put it in the microwave, and heated it until it's just over 100 degrees. Now, if it's too hot, what you're going to end up doing is killing your yeast, and your product that you're making won't rise. So it's important to have it at a good temperature, but not too hot, not too cold. We're going to put this in the microwave for another couple of seconds just to get it above 100 degrees. So soft pretzels are kind of one of our favorite snacks, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're great for if you are having a Friday night and you're watching movies together. They're great for a kind of a late night snack. And they're really pretty versatile. You can make a soft pretzel and then dip it in cheese. You can eat them plain. So there's lots of ways to have those. So we'll dump our water into our bowl, and then we're going to whisk in the active yeast. This is the yeast that I use. Really anything will work. You can also purchase and use packets of yeast. So this recipe would call for 1 of these packages, or 2¼ teaspoons if you're purchasing it in a jar like this. So we're going to measure out. Laura, would you want to do that? Measure out 2¼ teaspoons right into the water. And I'm going to grab a whisk, and we will whisk that in. Perfect. And then you'll add 1/4 teaspoon. I'll grab this from you and take that. Perfect. All right, we're going to whisk that into the water just until it's relatively dissolved. And then we're going to allow it to sit for about a minute. And while we're allowing that to sit, we're going to measure into this bowl. Lauren, if you want to measure the brown sugar, we're going to need 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And you can pack it a little bit. Right into there. That's perfect. And then you're going to also add 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'll give you this back, and you can use what you use for the yeast, because it's both a dry ingredient, just like the salt was a dry ingredient. And we'll put that right in here. And then to this, Lauren, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. So do you want to put that in the microwave for about 30 seconds? Roughly should melt that butter. In the meantime, we're going to check on our water and our yeast, and it looks like things are pretty well dissolved here. And then as soon as that butter is melted, we will add that to the brown sugar and the salt mixture. Let me grab you a spoon, Lauren. So we've been having a lot of fun during this time together, doing a variety of baking, from baking breads to making cookies to this past weekend, we made eclairs. So there's lots of different things that you can be cooking and baking. And for really little kids, that's great if you want to stir that in there. For really little kids, baking is a really fun way for them to learn math skills. You know, our kids are older now. We still enjoy baking together, but baking is really great for young kids too. All right, now we're going to whisk that in. If you want to whisk this into there, pour that right in and whisk that. And I'm going to start to measure. That's perfect. If you need a spatula, are you good? Oh yeah, we'll just get this little bits out of there. All right, so if you want to start to whisk this in, Lauren, and then I will start to measure up. So far in this bowl, we have 1.5 cups of warm water, about 100 degrees, 2 1/4 teaspoons or 1 packet of dry active yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter that was melted. So now we're going to add 3 3/4 cups of flour. So Lauren, I'm going to switch you over to a spoon.
Okay.
We're going to give you this, and I'll swap you that whisk. And as I put this in, you're going to start to mix that right in. And if you need to bring the bowl closer to you, you can do that. All right, we're going to spoon this in 1 cup at a time. And you can just put your measuring cup right into your flour. Another great way to measure flour is to hold the measuring cup and actually scoop your flour into the cup. But for sake of today, we're just going to scoop things up here. Great. So now you're going to continue to stir that in and try to get that well incorporated. We're going to try to get all of the dry ingredients combined. So that's 2 cups. And it's going to become a pretty thick dough. And the nice thing about these soft pretzels is they don't require a really long rising time. They only require about 10 minutes or so of a resting phase before we bake them. Great, you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got 3 cups of flour into our mixture right now. And then I'll measure out this 4th cup. That's all right. You know, the fun of baking is sometimes the messy part of baking too,
yeah.
but it makes it fun. Don't be afraid. Sometimes we might not encourage kids to participate in baking because of mess, and don't be afraid, especially little kids. Don't be afraid to engage them in baking because it really is a lot of fun. Great. And if you want to scrape all of that. Looks fantastic. I'll give you this to stir in. About 3/4 cups. I'm just going to leave a little bit out because we'll use the rest of this as we're kneading the dough and incorporating the rest of that dough into the mixture. All right, what you're going to keep stirring that. I'm going to grab a towel that we're going to put over this to allow it to rest. But if you want to incorporate all that dough in, okay, or all that flour in, I should say. Good, got that all right?
Yeah.
Want me to add a little elbow grease?
Yeah, sure.
All right, you're doing a great job. So the last little bit, you just grab all those bits of flour. And then once you get all the flour incorporated, then we're going to turn it onto a floured surface and we're going to knead it for about 3 minutes before we allow the dough to rest. So we'll take that off. And Lauren, do you want to sprinkle a little bit of that flour onto this surface right here? That's great. And then we're going to knead this dough again for about 3 minutes, and then we'll shape it into a ball, and then we're going to let it rest for a little while. So kneading the dough is simply kind of a push-pull activity, and you can put a little bit more flour on top of here. But kneading the dough, you push and you pull, and you're just kind of twisting it back and forth. So Lauren, do you want to set a timer for about 3 minutes? And we'll do about 3 minutes of kneading this dough. And then I thought, in the meantime, what are some things that you guys like that we bake together, or that we have baked as a family?
My favorite's probably your M&M cookies.
Oh,
yeah, those are pretty good.
You like those too? Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are a fun one. You know, M&M cookies are, again, a pretty easy recipe, and you probably have most everything that you need for those in your pantry. Right now, It's nice to be able to do a lot of baking that doesn't require you to have to run out to the grocery store to get a lot of ingredients, but M&M cookies are a pretty fun one, I would agree.
Definitely.
And then this weekend we made Eclairs,
Yeah.
which is an easy choux pastry. It doesn't require any type of yeast. And sometimes people get nervous with choux pastry because just the word itself sounds like it's something pretty complicated. But choux pastry is simply water, melted butter, flour, and some egg yolks. And then you can mix that all together in stages, and the pastry becomes like cream puffs. So then you can either put whipped cream in it, make cream puffs. You can make a vanilla pastry cream and make eclairs. You can make a chocolate pastry cream. There's a lot you can do with choux pastry, but it's certainly not a dough to shy away from because it's super easy to make.
And delicious.
And it is good, yeah. All right, so not quite 3 minutes has gone by, but you're gonna take this dough and you're gonna knead it for 3 minutes, and then it's gonna look beautiful on the top. Then what we're gonna do is take it and lightly cover it with a towel and allow it to rest. We'll just put it right back in the same bowl we had it in, and we're gonna allow it to rest for about 10 minutes. And then we'll finish the process after it's risen. All right, so now our dough has rested, so the fun part begins. We're gonna shape them into pretzels. So, Lauren, I'm gonna give you a chunk. There you go. Lauren is gonna shape that one into a traditional pretzel shape. The other fun thing that you can do with these is make pretzel twists by just spinning it on itself. Be really creative. This is a great time with, especially again, young kids. You can make all sorts of different shapes. So Lauren's gonna roll that out. It's about 24 inches. And then she will make a U shape, twist the ends, and then pull them back and push them in. And that's a beautiful pretzel, Lauren. And she'll place it onto the pan. So we'll make a couple more of those with this remaining dough. There you go. Then what we're going to do is place them into a hot water bath. That is what allows them to have that delicious inside sourdough soft texture. So what I have doing behind us, or boiling behind us in the pan, is 9 cups of water and a half a cup of baking soda. The important thing to remember is that you want baking soda and not baking powder. So a half a cup of baking soda, boiling in 9 cups of water. All right, we'll make our last couple of pretzels. And this dough all together makes about 12 to 15 pretzels. So come on back to the stove with us, and we're gonna put these into some boiling water. You're gonna boil these for about 20 to 30 seconds. You don't want to go beyond 30 seconds because if you do that, then it starts to have this real metally taste to them, and we don't want that. So boil for about 20-25 seconds. And I already have some that are done here. How are we doing for time? All right, great. And then you want as much water. Drain them as much as you can. You can use a tool like this, or simply a slotted spoon is perfectly fine too. And then place them onto your parchment paper. If you have a silicone pad, you can use that. If you don't, make sure to spray your parchment paper with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray before you put the wet pretzels onto that parchment paper. All right, so now we're gonna put a little bit of salt on all of these. Then your oven has been heating to 400 degrees, preheating to 400 degrees. And once you have them done soaking in the boiling baking soda water and you put a little bit of kosher salt on them, you're gonna put them in the oven for about 20 minutes, or 15, I should say about 15 minutes. And this is the final product. beautiful golden brown soft pretzels. So come on over this way. We'll get these in the oven. All right. Now these are gorgeous, gorgeous golden brown soft pretzels. Look at how beautiful those turned out. And again, all different shapes and sizes that you can make. And then you can heat up some cheese, or you can put whatever your favorite dip might be. But we hope that you will enjoy baking at home as a family, and we hope that you will try these homemade soft pretzels together.